Aviophobia, the fear of flying. 7% of the British population suffer with this, and as far as phobias go, it's fairly understandable. If you're on a commercial airliner, you're sat in a metal tube which is packed full of wiring and hydraulics, the wings are full of aviation fuel, you're doing this at over 500 miles an hour, 38,000 feet up in the sky. If any major component fails, well, you're fucked. And to be honest, I'd be more than happy if they did that in the safety presentation that the stewardesses give. You know, your exits are here, here and here. If they just said, look, anything goes wrong with this plane, we're all dying in a massive fireball. I don't think being over the sea is going to help, because at the speed we're going to hit that water, it may as well be fucking concrete. And if by some miracle you're not killed in the initial impact, if you're not sat right next to one of the doors, you're probably going to die anyway. I've got a friend of mine who works in aviation, and a few years back we were discussing why you do the brace position, and he said it's the best way to stop your head coming off. And I thought, well, that makes sense, until he then finished, that makes it easier to identify people from their dental records. So be aware, when you're doing the brace thing, you're just making it easier for the bloke who presents air crash investigation. And of course, it's not just mechanical failure or pilot error. There's the ever-present threat of terrorism. And I'll say this out loud, a lot of people won't, but they will think it. When I'm at the airport, if I see a group of Islamic-looking chaps, I am praying, don't get on the same fucking plane as me. I don't want to have to be a hero. Just going off a tangent from that, when I applied for my passport, I had to go for an interview. And in the UK, that happens. There'll be random people chosen to go and prove that you are who you say you are. But the bloke that interviewed me for my passport was called Mohammed, and it looked like he had a part-time job as an Osama bin Laden impersonator. So I sat through this whole interview talking about where I was born, my marital status, thinking, which one of us shouldn't be getting on a fucking plane, mate? But despite all this, I absolutely love flying. When you're on the runway, waiting to take off, and you hear the engine suddenly throttle up, that's better than any roller coaster. I just want to go round and do it again. And when you're flying, looking down at the clouds, I am struck like some sort of Victorian gentleman, going, my word, we have conquered the skies! Truly, this is an age of wonders! I'd have to be a time traveller from the Victorian times. But I know people who are scared of flying can't get any of this because they only see the risk. So why aren't I frightened of flying? It's because the odds of being injured or killed on a commercial flight are 7 million to 1. Now, to put that in context, you're much more likely to be killed just crossing the road. For God's sake, don't drive. That's fucking lethal compared to flying, because flying's pretty much the safest thing you can do. And I started digging into what else is there that's more dangerous than flying. And here are a few of them. Using a kettle. You're more likely to be killed using a kettle than going on a Boeing 747. Putting on trousers. I had no idea that every morning I'm taking my life in my hands, giving 2 fingers to death, just putting my Wranglers on, because that's more dangerous than hurtling through the sky. And then I came across one which I didn't really get to begin with. It's listed as accidental self-strangulation. How the fuck do you accidentally strangle yourself? And then I had to read between the lines and realise that's the way that they describe autoerotic asphyxiation. So think about this. You are less likely to die in a plane crash than you are accidentally wanking yourself to death.